tell me how, when you get out of the service and you're living civilian life, something happened. What happened? What caused you to say, okay, the path that I'm taking is not good. I need Jesus.
Sure. So when I got out of the Army, active duty, I went National Guard for 3 years because I wasn't quite ready to let it go. Mm-hmm. My National Guard unit was a human intelligence unit. I left Special Forces to go back to train new humaniters.
Okay.
So in early 2016, on the way back from Atlanta, which is where my unit was. Mm-hmm. Now keep in mind, I was raised Catholic, but I never read the Bible. I mean, these are, I was not a Bible-believing Christian. I didn't watch Christian TV, listen to Christian music. Not that I didn't believe in God, I just never thought about him.
Okay.
But while I was driving home one day, I had just got off I-65. I was in Alabama because I was driving home to the Panhandle of Florida. And I just got off I-65. I was on an Alabama highway. It was about 8 o'clock at night because it was dark. And I was driving on this road, and I went from listening to music and just driving on this road, and all of a sudden I was standing in a desert, and I saw a row of tents in front of me, and it was maybe 10 yards away from where I was looking. And I was looking out of my own eyes, so I wasn't like a bird's eye view, it was from my own eyes. And I saw these tents, and it was a place I had never been before. But this was like the most vivid, real thing that's ever, it was very real to me. It was beyond just imagining something. Mm-hmm. And I saw one guy in particular who walked, and he walked within a foot or two in front of me, and I smelled his body odor. Yeah. And shortly after that, I remember I was back in my car, and I was not there anymore. And I was like shaking with this energy, and it was like being electrocuted, but without the pain. And I heard the voice of my Father that night, and he told me a couple things, and that has changed my life ever since. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that he told me was to help his people the way that I would help him. And he told me that he was coming back very soon for his church. And he told me immediately after that if he had come, I would not have gone with him. Mm. And then he told me that we were living in prophetic times. And I didn't and when I say I heard the voice of God, I don't know that it was an audible voice like you and I. Mm-hmm. It was like becoming self-aware of things that had never crossed my mind before. Right. But that were put there intentionally. And now when I read the scripture, I know the voice of my Father. Mm-hmm. When he speaks, sure. I hear him. Sure. And he spoke to me. And I drove home, and I was just shaken. And before I drove home, I'm sitting there, and these things are happening, and I was crying uncontrollably. And I felt what in my book I describe it as cold and hot, because I don't really know how to describe it, but it was like an energy, a liquid. It was like a syrup that was filled, and I call it liquid love in the book, because imagine I was a cup. When you fill up a cup, the water starts from the bottom up, but I felt like I was the vessel, and I felt the syrup, and it hit my head, and it started, and it slowly but methodically worked its way down all the way to my toes. Okay. And I was just, shaking. Wow. Shaking. And I had no idea what it was, and it didn't leave me. It stayed there for a while. And I left, and I think I probably cried the whole way home. And I'm not a crier, but uncontrollably. And I got home, and I told my wife, and I was like, I think God talked to me, or I had a brain aneurysm. Something happened. Something happened to me. And to her credit, she went and she got me a Bible. And while taking full-time classes, I started reading it, and I started specifically looking at prophecy. So once again, you were raised Catholic. You knew nothing really about the Bible. Correct.
You never studied it.
Correct.
You're on your way home, and you have a vision.
Correct.
And he speaks to you. God speaks to you, and you hear this voice, and he starts telling you about prophetic stuff. And in the natural, you shouldn't know any of that. Right. So he speaks. Okay, and your wife buys you this Bible. She
buys me the Bible, and basically I devoured any pastor, preacher, evangelist that I could find on YouTube. I went through, that's all I did. It was like Iraq all over again, except now I'm a civilian. I lost sleep because I needed to know who was speaking truth and who was not speaking truth. And I spent 6 or 7 months researching. I did not give my life to Christ at this point, and I had not stepped foot in a church at this point. And I live in Pace, Florida, and the Prophecy Files marquee came up, and as I drove past, and I felt liquid love hit me.
Wow.
And I asked myself, or God out loud in the car, I was like, do I need to go to this?
Yeah.
And liquid love hit me again.
You got to stay tuned to get the rest of this.